first things first. Time for some stories to start your morning. Now, the Packers, they've got the toughest schedule so far for 2018 based on their opponents' combined record. Green Bay went 7 of 9 last year with Aaron Rodgers missing 9 of those games. Chris Carter, do you think the Packers have it in them to bounce back in 2018?
Absolutely. I think this is a big year for Green Bay. We saw in the front office that they started making some changes. And Aaron Rodgers wasn't happy with all the changes they made because they took Alex Van Pelt, the quarterback coach, didn't call Aaron about that. But from the front office standpoint, Nick Wright is tired of Green Bay just stand pat. We want to look collectively, are they going to participate in free agency? Now, I still believe Jordy Nelson is the #1 receiver, so this is an important year for Jordy Nelson and some of the other skilled guys surrounding Aaron Rodgers.
And so I pointed at the skilled guys because I feel like when you have this type of quarterback, you can never have too many great weapons for him to throw to. We saw whether it was Brady in 07, whether it was, hell, Randall Cunningham in 98, whether it was Matt Ryan 2 years ago. But I just want them to spend money somewhere. I just want to see somebody that was not on the Packers last year, but made a Pro Bowl sometime in his career, be on the Packers this year. I don't care if he's a safety, a D tackle, something in free agency. A difference maker that costs some money. That is not something they've done throughout Rodgers' entire tenure there. I'd like to see them do it, but yes, they're a contender, a bounce back here because they have
the only time we saw was when they went out and got your boy Julius Peppers.
Yeah,
and what he added to that organization.
Absolutely. But, we still crying about that, Carolina. Back to the NBA. Markelle Fultz, he's trying any and everything to get back on the floor. Apparently, he's even using virtual reality goggles. Yes, goggles to help him work on his jumper. Nick, do we think we'll see him back on the court this season?
Man, I hope so. I've never seen something like this in the NBA.
No.
I understand he had a shoulder injury, and the shoulder injury maybe had him adjust his shot, but he has been cleared for a month now by the doctors from that injury. The only thing I can compare this to is Chuck Knobloch, like a guy who used to be able to throw to first. Something happened, and then he just couldn't do it anymore. He seems to have the yips, which I've never seen from an NBA player.
Right. I think Chuck Knobloch was more mental. Now, what he's going through, I believe this is muscular and structure, because he had to basically change because he had a deficiency in his shoulder. He had surgery. Now he's got to retrain the muscle. So the virtual reality glasses, what they do is athletes are visual picture takers. So if you can see yourself doing it right and trying to get the muscle memory to keep duplicating that same motion, that's how you change. But this is not a situation like Tristan Thompson, where he was shooting left-handed and started shooting right.
No.
This guy was a great shooter.
He shot 40% from 3 in college. And in the clips that I was watching yesterday, because there's a great story in one of the Philly local newspapers about this, where they embedded some YouTube videos just a couple weeks ago when he was going through his warm-ups. At one point, he had the perfect motion. And then he went back to this other thing. So physically, he can do it. He just can't repeat it.
And right now, he's under doctor's restriction. He cannot shoot outside of the painted area. So when you go to YouTube and watch him, you'll see a lot of shots inside of 15 feet.
That's incredible. Derrick Rose, now, he's cleared waivers.
He can't shoot outside the painted area either.
You a mess. After being released by the Jazz, the Cavs traded away Rose as part of a deal to acquire both Rodney Hood and George Hill. So, Nick, I think we know where you're going with it. But will we see D. Rose being effective with another team this season?
I mean, maybe if Tom Thibodeau wants to further make the case that maybe we've overrated him as a talent evaluator and as a coach.
Effective, or will he be effective? EF.
Oh, I don't know the effect. I get that one wrong all the time, so I'm going to have to lean on you on that one. I don't know the difference. I get it wrong.
You can't lean on me.
I know. You're just guessing anyway.
Yes.
Will he be effective? Not to help your team win games. Listen, I feel badly for Derrick Rose. I know guys are supposed to develop different portions of their game, but his athleticism, he didn't expect it to be gone by the time he's 25.
No.
And it was, and by then it was almost too late. And he never developed a jump shot. He doesn't make the smartest basketball plays because he never had to, because he could always just get to the cup. And he can't anymore, and he's been awful.
The game that he's playing now is foreign to him, Nick. When you're that explosive, you have to develop some type of, even a set shot from three-point range, some intermediate game. Derrick hadn't done that. Now his athleticism has gone, so now he's playing a game that's foreign to him. But off the court, Man, something happened to Derrick Rose, man. He's not the same guy. He don't have the same energy. He don't have no type of swag like he used to have. Like, something happened to him mentally. Watch LeBron James. His last game in Cleveland, watch LeBron hit the game winner. Watch how he just comes up LeBron and acts like he's shaking his hand. Like, that was not the Derrick Rose that I was used to seeing.
I think I can tell you what happened to him. The love of his life was stolen from him in basketball. At 23, his knees go out. Like, when you're the youngest MVP in the history of the league, and then all of a sudden, within 24 months, you're not an effective player, when that's your one identity, yeah, he's rich forever, but that's not what he was about. Like, and it's hard when you're 29 years old and your career's over.
And finally, Steve Kerr. Well, he took last night off from coaching a little bit. Well, he was on the bench, but he let David West, Andre Iguodala, and Draymond Green run the huddle in a 129-83 win against Phoenix. Forward Jared Dudley ripped the move, saying it showed a lack of respect for an opponent. Here's Kerr after the game.
It's the players' team. It's their team, and they have to take ownership of it. And as coaches, our job is to nudge them in the right direction, guide them, but we don't control them. They determine their own fate, and I don't feel like we focused well at all the last month, and it just seemed like the right thing to do, and I thought they communicated really well together, and they drew up some nice plays, and it was a good night for the guys.
Chris Carter, coach has his reasons, but was it disrespectful to Phoenix?
I don't think it was disrespectful. I had also read some of the stuff that Steve Kerr, not only this game, but the previous games. He's been concerned about his team. Coming into this game, Nick, you talked about they had won 2 in a row, but before that, they had lost 3 in a row. So they have been in a rut. This is the worst part of the season that they've experienced. So he was looking at doing different things. He talked about the players hearing a different voice. And every once in a while, you hear coaches talk about the players that they zone out hearing the same voice. So the coach tries to put other speakers in front of them. Now, he happened to do it in the game. But Steve Kerr, in the past, he's let the players run practices. So this is not necessarily new to the Warriors and how they go about doing business. Jared Dudley, he played in the game. I'd be embarrassed about how they play. I mean, going into the game, they had lost by 40 points 3 other times. Now, this is an NBA team. They're being paid a lot of money. And for Jared Dudley to point out that the coach is allowing the players to coach the team, some of those players who are injured in Draymond Green, who you need to keep him interested in the game, if he's over there in street clothes, he's either pestering the coach, so I'll give him a little side gig. I'll have him stay busy the way you do little kids in Little League. Let's keep little Johnny, let's keep little Johnny busy so he'll stay out of my business. They've experienced success like no team in the NBA. So how do you manage that? How do you manage that, what do you call it, Nick? The lethargicness of kind of...
Either the lethargy of the season or just the mental atrophy of playing 100 game seasons 3 years in a row.
Give me one more.
All right, no, we're good. Here's the thing, though. Both of these things can be true. It can be an excellent coaching move, exactly what Golden State needed, and something I applaud Steve Kerr for. And it can be disrespectful to your opponent. And his job is not to respect the Phoenix Suns. His job is to help the Golden State Warriors to put them in the best position to win another championship. And when you have a guy like Draymond, who you think deep down, you know what would help Draymond? You know what would help our always tumultuous relationship? If he knew what my job was like. I know what his job's like. I played in the NBA. Now I'm going to let him know what my job's like. I bet that will help. You know what will help break the monotonous routine of a mid-February game when we know we're going to the playoffs, we know we're going to be the favorites? If Iguodala gets to draw some plays, if David West, who doesn't have really, as you would say, a speaking part with this team, or certainly a starring role, if he gets to show off some of his basketball acumen, I can do all these things to help my team, but also recognize there's a reason that after the game he sought Jay Triano, the coach of the Suns, say, hey, man, there was no disrespect intended. You can be disrespectful and not have it be intended, but know it's going to happen. And that's how I look at this. So I said earlier, yes, it was disrespectful, but it was the right thing to do for his team.
Not to mention, we talked yesterday about Steve Kerr being the first coach to get to 250 wins in the time span that he got there. And I think this kind of move you know, whether it's respectful or not, is a part of that success. He'll do what it takes to get the win.
And as an organization, they've done some things unconventional as far as the way they conduct the practices, how they're going to travel, the type of music, the input that he's going to take from players. Also, I see a side of Steve Kerr. You know something, as a player, man, I wish a coach would have let me draw up something. And also to keep the guys engaged. Steve Kerr has been every aspect as far as a coach. He was a player, a good player on great teams. He was a general manager. And now he is the head coach.
He was a broadcaster. He's done everything but be a ref. Every part of the NBA but be a ref. And so he can see it from all sides. And he knows benefit of that. So giving his players that same benefit, the removing your ego from this, be able to say, you know what, I'm going to show the world.
Right.
People like to say anyone could coach the Warriors. Kerr leans into it. It's like, you know what? Maybe you're right. These guys can coach themselves. I applaud him for it. I understand why the Suns be a little salty about it, but, I mean, they were also down 150 to the Spurs.
Ebony, 9 out of the last 10 years, I've been a high school coach. And before that, I was a travel team. I had a travel team, a little all-star team, traveling around South Florida playing. And there was one time the coach came up to me after the game and said, I thought that was disrespectful. Because we had a blowout rule. You couldn't beat the team by 41 points. But I had an officer. He was from the town that I was in. His son was a tight end. He was a little chunky. So I threw a little counter and threw a pass to him. When I threw it to him, all the coaches were yelling, "Oh man, we're going to get suspended because we're going to beat the blowout." I said, "No, the whole team would catch him." About eight guys ran up on the little pudgy little kid and tackled him. And then so the game ended. We didn't.
They
break
thought
the
you were
rule.
trying to run up the.
They thought I was running. So the coach was like, "Man, that's totally disrespectful what you did." I told him what he did was disrespectful. He was like, "What?" I said, "Not teaching these kids how to damn tackle." All right?
You get the
Dudley,
respect you earn.
put the ball in the hole or stop the guy from putting it in the hole, because that's disrespectful. You getting paid for that performance last night.
Disrespecting your time.
Thank you.
So moving on to the Ball family.
I like Jared Dudley. Jared Dudley follows me on Twitter.
Told the Lithuanian reporter on Monday that Lonzo and his brothers, well, they're going to be a package deal. LaVar says Lonzo will leave the Lakers and find a new team if they don't also sign his two brothers. Chris Carter, is it time for Lonzo now to speak up?
Man, that's wishful thinking. Like everyone liked to think. My mom told me, because you know, when you get 18.
You thought you was grown.
Yeah, man, exactly. That's that real talk that you get. But my mom let me know that grown is not an age. Grown is do you make money? Do you pay bills? Are you contributing around here? Because once you get that, once you get a job, I will consider you to be grown. When you don't have a job, I'll consider you to be my child, and you're going to do whatever I tell you to do. And the rules under this roof, they apply to you. So it was either get myself a job and move out, or acquiesce to what Mama's saying going on around the house. Man, Lonzo's got a great job. He's got the job that I can say he probably dreamt about as a kid. And now he's sitting here, and now his dad has put him in the worst position possible. Well, now Lonzo's got to make a decision. I got to choose sides. Do I choose family, or I do choose the team that's actually paying and making my dream become a reality? Because I don't believe that he's going to talk to his dad. I believe that the dynamics of every family is totally different, but the dynamics in that house is Mr. Ball is the speaking voice. The other kids, they don't really say too much. So a lot of times it's the dad. How does the dad create revenue for himself? By sound bites like this. I mean, if you thought that was bad what he said, he also said if no team will do this, then Lonzo will come to Lithuania, and all of them will play there. Well, man, that don't sound like no dream job to me.
It also sounds like a breach of contract.
Well, but, you know, so I expect the dad to say things. I don't expect Lonzo to say anything to the dad. Now, what I thought you brought up a great point earlier in our discussion was, no, maybe he doesn't talk to the dad, but going to the organization and having just a
direct dialogue so they know his intentionality.
I want that direct dialogue to be public. Listen, Lonzo, I said he should have been the #1 pick. I went to this guy's games at UCLA. I love his game. I think at some point he's going to learn to shoot, and he seems like a very quality young man. Sometimes your family puts you in rough positions. Sometimes you do have to answer for the sins of the father. And when the father speaks out and says, man, Luke Walton's losing the team, and you don't say anything, and then he speaks out and says you will leave the team if they don't sign your brothers. Forget the fact that, as you mentioned, contractually he can't.
Yes.
He won't be a free agent for at the earliest 5 years, and in all reality, most likely 7 years. Just set that aside. I think you do have an obligation as a guy that Magic Johnson not only invested the #2 pick in, but talked about as a future all-time Laker, to say publicly, I love my father, but he does not speak.
Yeah, Magic Johnson just backed him up when they traded for Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah, his agent texted Rachel Nichols while they were doing the jump and said that he is not a backup. Magic Johnson came right out and said, Lonzo Ball's my starting,
even though he's injured.
No, totally. But here, Nick, you're scaring me, because what you're suggesting is the public undermining of a parent. Let me tell you why I say that. Because Magic Johnson's his boss right now. Absolutely he is, and what, effectively for the next 5 years. LaVar's his father forever. So I'm simply saying, if it were me, I'm not going to undermine my mother, right, publicly, per your suggestion, but I am going to ensure my professional relationship remains intact with my employer.
I think that, and again, I don't know you and your mother's relationship, so I'm not going to assume. But I'm going to assume one thing about Gloria.
Yeah.
I'm guessing Gloria has not repeatedly gone to national media outlets to talk trash about your employer and about your career. Maybe I'm wrong, and you can tell me off camera. But I am guessing Gloria has not had a deleterious effect on your career. At some point, you do have to, you can publicly say, I love my dad. I would not want any other dad. But he is not right about what I will do with the Lakers. And by the way, strategically, this is idiotic. We have seen the younger, less talented brother get signed because the big brother wants him. J.R. Smith got Chris a contract. Goran Dragic got Zoran Dragic a contract. But not by publicly saying, if you don't sign my brother, I'm out. You go through back channels, you do things. Lonzo could make this work, but you know what I know the Lakers won't do? Look like they're acquiescing to
Oh, of course. No, I hate LaVar's methods. Don't get me wrong here. I'm simply saying I think there's a tightrope that Lonzo's got to walk.
Right, there's an athlete. Both of y'all got a lot of respect for him. Both of y'all are fans of him. He did this, not to the extreme. Cam Newton.
Absolutely.
When Cam was going for the Heisman Trophy at Auburn, and all the things about his dad, potentially selling his services, his dad being suspended from being around Cam and the university.
Couldn't even go to the Heisman ceremony.
Couldn't go, all that. Cam Newton took control. I know Cam loves his dad. I know he's got a lot of respect for his dad.
Him with
that right there was a defining moment to Cam Newton, and that's the reason why he's been able to go on and have success and sign 2 contracts with Carolina.
Tell the audience, remind them what Cam did, what you're referring to.
Well, when Cam, his dad, when Cam went to junior college, when Cam went to junior college, when he supposedly came out of Blinn University, that his dad was selling his services to multiple universities, and the asking price was supposedly in the 6 figures. Now, the NCAA investigated it. They didn't find any wrongdoing with Cam, but the dad was suspended from being around the facility, around the team, couldn't go to the national championship game, and could not go to the Heisman Trophy ceremony. Cam and his dad, when I met Cam when he was 17 years old at the University of Florida, and Florida offered him a scholarship, they were as close as Lonzo and Mr. Ball.
Absolutely.
All right, so Cam Newton, he was in a situation a lot like this. Cam Newton took control of the situation and showed us that he was a man and he was going to control his own
that analogy, which is perfect, Chris, Cam has a little brother who's playing quarterback at Howard University right now.
Yes.
And I bet Cecil's not telling the Carolina Panthers what they gonna do about his brother. Just saying. All right, coming up, what will the Vikings do at QB next season? That's next on First Things First.
Oh, I think